I added her on, so she should be popping in a minute, but I'll go on. There we are. Hey, our guest is here. Yay. And before I introduce you, I'm just going to finish this train of thought because, sometimes I forget things. And so we formed Clark & Clark back in January of 2015, January 15th of 2015 to be exact. So we have been a team since 2015, so it's been 6 years at this point. Can't believe it's been that long. So we handle, our Elberton office is the general firm, meaning my father handles a little bit of everything as far as like criminal, family law, so divorces, legitimations, property like closings, deeds, personal injury, and criminal. And whereas here in Atlanta, we are scaling back on our criminals to focus more on personal injury and estate planning, which is near and dear to my heart. And so you will see that we post quite a bit about estate planning, trust wills, and estates. And so with no further ado, I will tell you all a little bit about my friend Adrienne Mayfield. And so I'm going to introduce her, then I'll let her, if she would be so willing to share how we know each other. But Adrienne is an attorney, but before she was an attorney, she was a principal. So we have an educator among us, and she still is educating people about God, about life, and a number of other things. So she's still an educator at heart. So she was an educator, and now she is an attorney. In addition to being an attorney, she's a published author, and she'll share with you about her books and where you can find them later in this show. And she is also an encourager and a purpose or transition coach. So Adrienne is someone, I told you all yesterday on the live that she's one of the funniest people that I know because she has me howling with laughter, and my dog, my canine coworkers, I like to call her, is asleep on the floor, but it's inevitable that when we talk, I'm laughing so loudly that my dog wakes up and looks at me like, why are you being so loud? And so it's because she gives you the truth, but in a very straightforward manner. And sometimes I don't know if she's joking or not, so I just take it as a joke and keep it moving. But we're so glad to have her here this afternoon. And so Adrienne, and also I'll go back over why Friends Friday. And it's also, Adrienne is the reason that it's alive and not just a post. And so Women's History Month is among us, and about 2 weeks ago or so, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to spotlight a different woman's a friend of mine throughout the month of March. She's like, oh, and I asked her if she would, if I could do her for the first week. And she's like, oh, is it going to be a live? Is it going to be an interview? Because Adrienne loves lives. And actually, I did my first live with her back at the height of the pandemic back in 2020. So I am becoming more comfortable doing these lives, but I prefer to just record a video and post it, or to just share posts. But so we are happy to have Adrienne. And so Adrienne, with no further ado, if you would just kind of share how we know each other, and then we'll kind of let the conversation roll. Now, I'm not able to hear you. Okay, I hear that noise.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. I think maybe my microphone was muffled. So
okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited. I'm Adrienne Mayfield, as Nefertari said, and I should go ahead and tell you before we dive in that I'm coming off of a 5-hour church service last night. So I might be a little bit lethargic, but probably not. But I just want to go ahead and tell you that. So the way that we met is Nefertari is from Elberton. I guess she said that. I missed the first part of what she said, but she's from Elberton, Georgia, and I'm from Hartwell, Georgia. Those towns are about 18 miles apart in northeast Georgia. And her father, as she shared, Attorney John Clark, he was the only Black attorney that I ever knew. And my parents were very involved in the NAACP there in my hometown. My mom ran for office. She was the only Black city council member, mayor pro tem. And so they were very involved in building our community and making sure our community could be all that it was created to be. And so Nefertari's father was the attorney for our local branch there in Hartwell, as well as Elberton. And Nefertari, being much younger than me, she used to come over sometimes. And so I knew her growing up. And so when she actually became and so that is how we met. Our parents were friends. Both of my parents are deceased, and I may get into a little bit of that later, but both of my parents are deceased. And about a month ago, Nefertari sent me a text and she was like, look what I found. And I was like, what'd you find? And she actually had found pictures of my parents sitting on her parents' sofa at their house some time ago. And I was like, oh my God, when is this? When was this? And she said, do you want me to send it to you? I was like, of course. And so that picture just kind of solidifies or puts a pin in the relationship that Nefertari and I have developed, because, you know, she was a lawyer long before me, and we really weren't like friends per se. But in the last year or so, I would like to think that we just kind of come together and merged, and we become friends and we bounce ideas off of each other. But we are friends. We know each other because our parents, both of them, were highly involved in community activism, and it's just in our blood, and it's, you know, who we are, and that's how we know each other.
Yeah, so you summed it up accurately and perfectly. And Adrienne was older than I, and so that means she was cooler than I, meaning, you know, she didn't have time for me until we both became. Age doesn't matter as much when you are, you know, adults. Like when you're young, like, oh, she's 6 and I'm 16. I'm not playing with her or talking to her. But now,
is it 10 years? Oh wow, it's 10 years.
That was an example. I'm not really sure our age difference, but
Yes, I'm not sure. Go ahead.
yeah, I look. And so now, so you are a purpose/transition coach. So can you just tell us what that before you know, before we get too far down this road? So tell us exactly what a purpose or transition coach is.
Okay, so life, of course, is full of transitions. It's full of changes. You got to get into the ebb and flow of life, because things are always constantly changing. I mean, if nothing else, that 2020 taught us is that life can throw you a curveball that you were not expecting. Well, one of the challenges with that is that we as people are creatures of habit. We get super comfortable. We get super, you know, reliant on things staying the way they always have been. So then when something happens that kind of throws us a dodgeball or throws us a curve, how quickly we're able to bounce back and recover from that really is the key to longevity, key to the success, key to staying off of, you know, any type of addictive behaviors. And so a life transition or purpose coach is someone who will help you. Me specifically, what I focus on doing is helping people get unstuck. So initially I called myself a purpose coach because I had different people coming from all walks of life. Some people needed help losing weight. Some people needed help with transitioning with their job. Some people needed help saving their marriage. Some people needed help figuring out how to make life work when their marriage didn't work. So people were, you know, coming to me for many different things. And I was focusing on purpose, but then the Holy Spirit was more like, this is bigger than purpose, because in order for people to get to their purpose, they've got to learn how to navigate these transitions that happen and not get into cycles. Because what happens is a lot of times we find coping mechanisms that we think help us, you know, get through the pain or push through the trauma rather than dealing with it and moving forward. And so when something else similar happens, we get in a cycle. And so what I help people do is take whatever their situation, whatever obstacles, whatever pain, whatever trauma they've experienced, and I help them transition, figure out how we can use this pain, how we can leverage this pain to make it work in a way that helps you and helps others recover quickly. So that's my main, I guess, tagline is I help people recover quickly.
Got you. And so I never, like, you know, really asked you, well, why the switch from purpose to transition coach? But now that you explain it, like, that makes perfect sense, and it's elevating and enlightening. So thank you for sharing that. And also, you know, we as humans, I think that we are resistant to change, especially if it might not be what we need to be doing. It might not even be what we want to be doing, from relationships to business, but we are just trotting along. So that's you serve a purpose in being a transition coach. So that is awesome. And you mentioned being resistant to change, but also when things happen out of the blue, such as you know, relationships. And now your first book deals with some you know, the loss of a relationship with you. So would you like to share a little bit about that before we go further?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is people sometimes think about an expert. Well, what makes a person an expert? They're looking at Harvard or Yale graduate or I've gone to Southern University and I have all these amazing degrees, right? But that's not what makes you an expert. Making you an expert means that what makes you an expert or establishes you as an expert is that you were able to successfully do something that other people are going to have to do. And so transitioning, bouncing back, being able to figure out how to restart after something very difficult happens is something that I'd say I've mastered. So part of that happened. I mean, I feel like that's kind of how I've been built to be my entire life. But in 2007, this is just a little backstory. In 2007, my dad died very suddenly after 12 days in the hospital. Then in 2009, I went through a very difficult situation with my brother where I actually had to go to Grady Hospital and identify him, right? And so then in 2012, I entered in law school at 37, which was already a transition because I've been an educator, as Nefertari said earlier. And so my mom got sick at the end of first year of law school, and three months later, she passed away. And so out of that pain and grief and trauma of my dad, then my brother, then my mom, I'm in law school, one after another, there's just this barrage of events that happen, that naturally occurring events in life. They just kept coming, and it's like, a tree is standing when the wind blows through it, the branches, go side to side. You're just trying to, survive. And so then I met a man, and he was a pastor, and I was hurting, he was hurting, he was a widower, and we connected. And in my book, I call the chapter where we met Pain as a Matchmaker, because that's really what it was. He was in so much pain, I was in so much pain. Our common denominator was our pain. And I tell people all the time, that's just not the recipe for a healthy relationship. That's not the recipe for a foundation that you want to be built upon, is pain. Even though pain is a universal language and we all go through pain, building a relationship based on the commonality being pain is almost a certain recipe for disaster. But so I've become an expert in what I do because I've learned how, through depending on God and prayer and the support of friends, I've learned how to master transitions in a way that now I'm able to use them. So now my purpose is, as revealed through my experiences, is to help other people walk through those transitions. So I can help people walk through grief. I can help people walk through marriage. I can help people walk through divorce. I can help people who are married to pastors. I can help people start new careers at 37 years old. So there's a whole plethora of wealth and experience that I bring to the table, just so I've become an expert at what I do just by living life and not breaking. And so that's my story, is that I want to encourage people. I want to stand as a testament, because when people come into the story, so people look at my life, they look at who I am today, they're like, oh, she's an attorney, wow, she's a publisher, she's a coach, she's a speaker, she's a this. They don't know 3 years ago, I was in a hotel after having left my husband, trying to figure out what I was going to do and, where was I going to go. They don't know that years before that, I sat beside my mom and watched her take her last breath. So all of those things, don't despise. I just like to say to anyone who's watching, do not despise your process. Do not despise even the things that you perceive as being negative, because God will use all those things. I never wanted to be someone who was divorced, ever. I mean, like, divorce is kind of like, those of you who are familiar with Hester Prynne and the Scarlet Letter, she had to wear the scarlet A on everything. Being divorced is like a big deal, even in church. Even though divorce happens a lot, when you say you're divorced, people are like, oh, okay. It's like, you got a D and a big F for failure. And so overcoming that and understanding that and learning how to use my divorce and my experiences in marriage to help people save their marriages, and also help people to walk through that process. It's just a blessing to be able to use things that are perceived negative and were very difficult. Now, don't get it twisted. They were very difficult, but God taught me how to and walked me through it. And so now I'm just coming back to help walk other people through those processes.
And so thank you for sharing, that. I read your book. What's the name of that book? The Connecting with the Burning Bush?
Connecting with the Burning Bush, yes.
Yes. Do you have a copy to show us?
I should have one. I hope so. That would be terrible if I don't, right?
So it's okay.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay. So that is the book that kind of like Adrian's life story to that point of about, what, 3 or 4 years ago?
Right.
Um,
2016. Yeah.
2016, so about 5 years ago. And so I definitely encourage and recommend everyone to get it. And can you tell us before we go further, like your website as well as the name of your business and how people can contact you and find you?
Okay, so my website is adrianmayfield.com. I am on IG as I am Adrian Mayfield. I'm on Facebook as Adrian Mayfield Esquire. On Twitter as AD Mayfield 8, I believe it is. And I also have a podcast, which is Beauty for Ashes. It's available on all podcast platforms. Same thing I'm doing here, just basically sharing. I share current events. I share life events. I just try to show you how to take your ashes and turn them into something beautiful. And so that's what the podcast is about. My books are all available on my website, adrianmayfield.com. I have the transition coaching. Like I was saying earlier, it was called purpose coaching. I'm transitioning into transition coaching. And because of that, I'm getting ready to you'll see a lot of changes if you go to my website today versus next week. And so as a result of that, do you want me to give my offer now, or are we going to wait?
It's up to you. You can give it now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm on this lane, so I'll just go ahead and say it. Okay. So as a result, today, if you sign up for a coaching session or a group of sessions with me between now and Monday, 72 hours, you have 72 hours to capitalize on this, what do they call them, flash sale? And you'll have the opportunity to enjoy any of my services at half price. Because starting next week, when everything starts beginning to transition, there'll be double the prices that you see now. So for the next 72 hours, if you want to talk to me about something you're going through, a struggle, you want to be encouraged, you want to be challenged, you want to get unstuck, then sign up for a session in the next 72 hours, because after that, the prices are going to go up, and I would hate for you to have to pay. Well, I wouldn't hate for it, but it would be unfortunate for you to pay more for the same service. So capitalize on it, take advantage of it. And I do want to say that, I don't know if you were going to ask this, but one of the things that people say when you talk about coaching, or I don't need a coach, why do I need a coach? Well, one of the reasons why you need a coach is because a lot of us self-sabotage. So you will have a motivation, you'll have an idea, you'll have a dream. God will download something in you, and like, I should be doing this. But something just, like, you just can't get unstuck. And so we self-sabotage. We have self-limiting beliefs, things that make us convince ourselves that we can't do stuff. So a coach just comes in and not does it for you, not makes you do it, because obviously some of that stuff most of it has to come from inside. But a coach just comes in and says, hey, I'm partnering with you. And that's one of the unique things about me is I'm a one-on-one, life-on-life person. That's how I disciple people. That's how I coach people. That's the kind of friend I am. Like Nefertari was saying before, sometimes when we're talking, she's like, oh my God, like really? Like, it was just a joke, Adrian. It was just a joke. I'm like, but that's just who I am. I'm a life-on-life person. And in the coaching industry, a lot of it's moving toward this group coaching, mass coaching style, where people record stuff and then you just come in and watch it with 60 other people. But I'm a strong believer in life on life. And so that's one of the advantages of my coaching style and the way I do things, is that I will get in the ring with you. I'll get in the trenches with you. I'll walk you through it. I help push you and encourage you to the next level. And so that is, what you should be looking for in any coach, not just someone who has a long list of repertoire, 46 certifications. Yeah, but what you been through? That's the question. Because I'm coming to you as a coach because I need you to help me walk through something. And so that's the biggest thing I would say about that. But the flash sale, again, is 72 hours. That's between now and Monday. You got to book. If you book after that, you'll be paying more. So adrianmayfield.com.
In the comments when we add this to IGTV. And also something that you said, so something that my pastor always says, that faith that has not been tested cannot be trusted. And so that's like with a therapist or a counselor or a coach, you want to make sure that they've been through something, at least as similar to yours, have some life experience on it to better advise you on how to maneuver those twists and turns. So that is definitely true. And there was something that you said that John remember that I wanted to say, but I cannot remember what it was. Oh, yes. Tell us, because you were a teacher. My mom's a retired educator. I used to joke because at the public defender's office, I was kind of off the whole summer. I took like lots of vacation in the summer because she was off in the summer, and that's when we traveled, be it to AKA conferences, whatever. That's when we traveled. So I used to joke and say I should have been an educator so that I could have like the whole summer off, because I really enjoy outside. I enjoy travel. I don't like being in the office. It's not my favorite thing. But so what made you leave the security of having benefits, of having, because self-employed, you got to provide your own insurance, you got to provide your own benefits yourself. So what made you leave the security of a job that had benefits and retirement and pensions and all these things to be self-employed or to be an entrepreneur?
So I tell people who ask me that I was forced out of education because I was getting complacent. So I had been doing education for 11 years. I was a high school teacher, I was a middle school assistant principal, and then I transitioned into like a more non-traditional training or teaching position where I was doing an online situation. And I was so bored. I mean, I was bored out of my mind. Like I could literally do it in my sleep. And so being very gifted, which is another thing I coach people about, being very gifted, being talented, being skilled at lots of different things can be a blessing, but it can be a curse if you don't know how to leverage it, because you can get stuck. Like I talked about, you can get comfortable. And so I had gotten super comfortable. Education was easy. I could do it in my sleep. But I just kept feeling like I got to do something else. I'm just going to literally lull myself into a 30, 40-year career of not fulfilling my potential. And so the more I watched, No Child Left Behind was around that time the legislation came down, and was horrible for the children that I was called to serve. I worked in traditionally, they were majority minority schools, and we did not have the resources and the backing to do the things that we're being asked to do, but yet the standards weren't moving. So they weren't like on a tiered scale of based on the resources and the income or any of those things, all of the different factors and issues that were part of the students I was servicing. And so I said, who are these people making these laws? I mean, I literally said that to my mom one day. Who are these people? And she was like, most congressmen are lawyers. And I said, they are? I need to go to law school. And so when I tell people that story, they laugh like, are you serious? That's why you became a lawyer? But that's really why I became a lawyer, because I became so disgruntled with people making decisions for me that were not to the best benefit of what I was trying to do or the students I serviced. And so that's why I left law school. I haven't quite gotten to that point of writing the legislation, which was the original impetus for going to law school. But I still feel like I'm helping people and helping people better their lives, even what I'm doing now. But that was it. Just looking at them in that law, and I was like, they don't know what they're doing. They need some teachers up there to help them understand what it's really like on the ground. Because you're making decisions from up here, but you need to know what life is like on the ground. And so that kind of motivated me. As I said, my parents were both public servants, and that's just in my blood. That's who I am, is to look at situations and say, how can I make things better for people? How can I make things better for more people? How can I expand my reach? How can I make such a positive impact that I leave a legacy that not only impacts this generation, but generations and generations to come?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing that story, what made you give up security, but it was a call to, serve others, which is, your life's goal, I would say personally. And Adrienne has an uncanny ability of changing which I would consider every little thing into a teachable moment. So that, for my position, coach. And so before we wrap up, what is there a message about maybe tough times or just a message in general that you would like to share to encourage, women?
Oh gosh, there's so many things I would like to say to women, because even through Corona, I've just watched and heard and listened to so many stories and so much. But I guess I would just say, for me, one of my personal life goals is that I want to make sure that everyone that enters my life leaves better than they came. Whether that is a friend, whether that's a waiter, whether that is a client, whether that is, whoever encounters me, When you leave my presence, I want you to have encountered God in a way that your life is changed forever. And so that's my goal. And I would just say to women that remember that you, even though we carry wounds and we birth life, you cannot carry every weight. You're not built for that. And so understanding that sometimes you need a little help, you need a little encouragement, you need that extra push, that will help. If you will make that acknowledgement and seek it out, that acknowledgement will help you transition and even catapult you into all the things that you were created to do. You have a purpose. Whatever pains you've experienced in your life, whatever tragedies that you have experienced, allow those to be a passport to help you gain access and gain the credit and establish your credibility as a winner, someone who has triumphed over your tragedy, and someone who has found a way to exert all of that and turn all of that, convert, I should say, instead of exert, convert all that negative energy and all those negative experiences into something beautiful and positive. And that's what I would say to encourage people today.
Well, thank you so much for that bit of encouragement. And before we say goodbye, would you like to share for anyone who's just joining us what your promotional offering is and also the services that you offer?
Okay, sure. I am a purpose/transition coach, and you can find out all the information on adrianmayfield.com. I have a podcast, which is Beauty for Ashes, available on all podcast platforms. I launch new episodes every Monday, and I am Adrian Mayfield on IG, Adrian Mayfield Esquire on Facebook, and AD Mayfield 8 on Twitter. My promotional offer for those of you who want to take advantage of coaching for the next 72 hours, my prices will be half off. So if you book something before Monday, which is 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night, then you'll get to take advantage of half off of my offer. So reach out to me at adrianmayfield.com. I just want to say to Nefertari that this is an amazing idea. This is Women's History Month, just for you to celebrate your friends. And first, I have an opportunity just to talk, because I will say this definitely is not scripted, but Nefertari has taken this whole quarantine COVID situation like really super serious. Not that I haven't taken it seriously, but like I can't even see my friend. Like she won't come out to play. She won't do any of those things. So seeing her today and getting to talk to her, we talk on the phone, but we don't FaceTime or any of that stuff. And so this is an opportunity for me to see her live and for us to just talk and engage. So a lot of what you experience today is just a natural organic friendship that we have, but just my excitement that I get to see my friend because she won't go anywhere. She's like under forced quarantine even more. She extends it even more than I go to the camp. And so again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for everyone who came on and watched. And I just want to release God's blessings over you. May he bless you. May he prosper you and grant you peace.
Thank you so much for that blessing. I will take all the ones that I can get. Thank you all for listening. Y'all go follow Adrian and check out her services, because I'm sure that you can use them. My mother is saying that I have senior parents. I do have senior parents. I don't know, but so you guys have a great day. Thank you for listening. Adrian, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good Friday.
Thank you.